What's up, Orange Nation? Coach David Joniak here. Just wanted to give you guys one more video before we jump into the king of the benchmarks, the 2,000 meter row. I have plenty of other videos that I've posted prior to this page and other pages, but this is going to be some additional tips, just additional tools for your arsenal before we get ready for it. I'm here in New Zealand, so we're doing the 2K tomorrow. A lot of my friends back home are going to be doing it in 2 days. So give you guys plenty of time to prep. Make sure you guys get plenty of sleep, plenty of rest. Don't go too hard on a workout between now and then. And of course, make sure you guys carb up. The most important thing, and I know I sent this in my last video, but I'm going to just reiterate it as well, is positioning. All right, the 3 points of contact. So the very first thing you should ever do when you get on a rower, whether it's for a benchmark class or a regular class, is set up your foot plates. So we all know there's 3 points of contact. There are the feet, the seat, and the hands. All right. So hands, seat, pretty simple, but still want to focus on that as well. I suggest the first thing you do when you sit down, sit on your cyst bones. All right, the bony part of the butt. Another good way that I like to tell members how to sit is they should be able to put the palm of their hand on the seat behind them. All right, so you can probably see how I'm doing that. Palm of the hand should be able to fit on the seat behind you. But you shouldn't be so far forward that it's going to slip out from underneath you. All right, so this is going to allow you to sit in the upright position. It's also going to allow fewer issues with your lower back and your hips. You'll get a little more range of motion and mobility that way, so you'll be able to maximize that 20% power from the hips. All right, that hip swing that we always talk about. All right, now, first thing we're going to do once we sit down, press the on button to turn it on. We should have your 500 meter split time with that 2,000 meter countdown. All right, but before we get into that, we're going to adjust the foot plates. So I have mentioned this before. For all of my friends back home in the US, we want 2 inches of your shoe shown above the strap. It's about that much. For my friends in New Zealand and other places, we want 5 centimeters. All right, so I wear a US size 12 shoe, so I have 2 holes shown in the orange. All right, so I'm going to adjust those down, put my feet in, and just double check. All right, now I have, when they're tightened, about 2 inches showing above the strap. Now here's another tricky thing. If you see that strap, I can make it look like 2 inches without it actually being 2 inches. So let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, let's say I bring this up to 4. I just added 2 holes in the orange. And now I'm going to put my foot in, and I'm going to straighten it again. Now notice there are still 2 inches of my shoe shown above the strap. Now look at what I did to the strap. That is not perpendicular to the strap hole. All right, it is now pulled forward, so it's deceiving. So make sure that when you do this and you look for those 2 inches or 5 centimeters of the shoe shown above the strap, that strap is perpendicular to the foot plate. All right, the lower the better, because we're pressing through the forefoot, the balls of the feet. It's going to go basically energy transfer from the forefoot to the midfoot to the heels. All right, think about it like 4 different exercises. It's a jump squat first. All right, when we do a jump squat, are we jumping up through the heels? No, that looks weird, right? We're jumping up through the forefoot. All right, so that's where you get your 6 inches of power. All right, that is the first 6 inches of the stroke. But then, as we press through the forefoot, we press through the forefoot, heels go down, and now we're pushing through the legs. All right, so think press through the forefoot, or the balls of the feet, press through the legs, now my heels are down, swing through the hips, pull through the arms. My friend Coach Morgan likes to say, push the elbows back, which is also a great cue, because remember, this is a push exercise, not a pull exercise. All right, so with that being said, now we've got the feet set up. All right, we want the last point of contact to be the hands. All right, you want to make sure you have a wide grip. This is going to give you more control over the handle, and it's also going to engage a larger portion of those back muscles, all right, which are the biggest force of that pull. Don't use that word too much. All right, but with that, you also want to make sure that you have a loose grip. If we're tensing our grip, if we're grabbing that handle, we are now flexing our forearms. Our flexed forearms, is blood flow to the forearms going to make us row any faster? No. So we want to make sure that this is loose. We want to turn off as many muscles that aren't going to contribute towards our success. Because any muscle that's turned on is pulling blood flow from the heart, which could better be used in the legs, the hips, the back, all those different places that actually contribute to the drive. All right. Now here's another fun thing. It's all about having length. All right, and that is effective length. So a lot of people think, oh, if I want to lengthen out my stroke, I'm going to lean further back. But this is sacrificing energy because it's going to waste so much energy and time to come all the way back forward. All right, and then length on the other side, they think they want to get their heels up and crunch their back. All right, that's not effective length either. All right, you are losing power. You're having little leaks of energy. All right, going through all those vertebrae, all those bent joints. All right, now, one way to cheat for good length is by extending the handle into your fingers, just like that. You can still pull 400, 500, 600, 700 watts, holding the handle like this, but look at that extra length that I'm getting right here. This is holding the handle. This is having that loose grip. I just gave myself an extra 2 inches, an extra 5 centimeters. All right? So, with that being said, those are the 3 points of contact. Now, I'm going to show you what I have on this board. This is going to be some new stuff for you. All right? So, first off, you guys have always heard me talk about +1, +0, +0, -1. All right? For any of you that don't know what that means, it means you want to have one pace to win the race. You want to have your 2,000 meter row broken down into 4 quarters, so 4 500 meters. All right, with that, the first 500 meters is going to be your slowest, but not very slow. That's going to be just 1 second slower than your average pace. Then once you get to that 500 meter mark, you're just going to add a little more pressure, maybe increase the stroke rate by 1, and you're going to look for your overall average pace. So let's say you're doing an 8-minute 2K, you're going to be looking for a 2-minute split time on the dot right there for that second 500, and same for that third 500. Your first 500 would be like a 2:01. And then once you get to the last 500, you're going to just add a little more pressure, and you're going to bring it down to a 1:59. All right, so that's where that +1, +0, +0, -1 comes. All right, now, this is the best race plan if you are just a brick wall up here. But we all know that the 2,000 meter row is a mind mess. All right, it gets to a lot of us. It gets in our head. So if you are psychologically sound, physiologically, this is going to be the best way to do it because you're going to have a steady increase of your heart rate throughout the entire process. However, if maybe that psychological aspect gets to you, this is the psychological way to perform a 2K, which a lot of even elite rowers do. And this is actually the most popular thing for elite rowers to do while on the water. Of course, racing a 2K on the water when you're actually having other boats next to you and you can see them from side to side, all right, that's where there is a little bit of strategy. So it does demand a little more psychological aspect to a 2K on the water, all right? But it still can cause a lot of that mental motion on the rower. So this way, we do a different plan. We do -1, +1, +1, -1. So once again, let's say we're doing an 8-minute 2K. You look for a 1:59 for the first 500 meters, so a little faster than your average intended pace. And then once you get to that 500 meter mark, you'd actually slow it down. But remember, when we say slow down, speed up, it's very subtle, all right? Think about a car shifting in traffic, all right? If you're going 70 miles an hour and then 40 miles per hour, back and forth, those shifts in speed are going to demand more energy from the engine. Same thing with shifts in speed when you're rowing, when you're running, when you're biking, anything. So that's why that one pace wins the race is the best thing for anyone of any level to do. All right, now back to this. We're not shifting much, all right? A 2-second shift is not a big shift to really affect a 2K, all right? But the nice thing about this, psychologically, it gives us a leg up on our average pace. Because let's say that you're going for an 8-minute 2K, all right, that 1:59 is going to give you a projected finish time of a 7:56. So you're already ahead of your goal, all right? And then you get one of the 2 worst 500-meter parts out of the way early, all right? And then, of course, that middle 1,000, which usually is the most psychologically demanding, gets to be just a tad slower, all right, just right under race pace. So that would be a 2:01, 2:01, and then you drop it again, just like on the other one, to 1:59. Those are the 2 different race plans, and you gotta take a nice hard look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I ready for the physiological race plan? Or do I still have some demons that show up maybe about halfway through that row to where the psychological race plan would be a little more beneficial? Now, last but not least, all right, there are a lot of different questions on how fast or what stroke rate my cadence should be. All right, so I've broken it down right here. So let's break it into 4 different categories. Novice rowers, all right, you're still new to rowing, or you consider yourself new to rowing. I'd say anywhere between 24 and 28 strokes per minute for your 2,000-meter row. If you consider yourself intermediate, maybe you've taken a couple dozen classes, but you still don't see yourself as a standout, all right, maybe with endurance or form, all right, I'd say probably average, then somewhere between 26 and 30. And notice some of these stroke rates overlap. That's not a big deal. You want to have a bit of a range. All right, now if you consider yourself advanced, all right, you have pretty good endurance, all right, these are going to be more of our standouts, if you will. The people that have a little more endurance, the people that are a little more comfortable on the rower and understanding how it all works, I'd say somewhere between 28 and 32, all right? And then lastly are elites, all right? These are members that have either done rowing before Orange Theory, members who have been doing Orange Theory for a long time, have probably sat in on a couple of rowing workshops, or have some sort of athletic background in an endurance sport. All right, that's where I would suggest probably 30 strokes per minute or higher. All right, when you're looking at actual elite rowers, they're going to be ranging anywhere from 30 to really like 38, 39 on a 2,000-meter row. I'd say your average stroke per minute for an elite male rower is about 34 or so, and that holds pretty true to a female rower as well. I'm going to show you one last thing before we wrap up this video. I know it's pretty long, and that's what if you can't get a full stroke? There could be a couple different reasons. Maybe we don't have the flexibility in our ankles, flexibility in our hips, maybe we're pregnant, or maybe we just have something in the way that's not letting us get to that full catch position. So obviously we want to go back to about a 1 o'clock or 11 o'clock angle. All right, you could also say just 30 degrees. And then on the way forward, we want to come forward the opposite direction, all right, to about a 30 degrees forward or 1 o'clock. So I think from where the camera is looking at me, I'm 11 o'clock back, 1 o'clock forward. All right, and my shins are vertical, all right, knees over the ankles, all right, and I have that nice ankle mobility. Some people, in order to get up here, they're going to have to raise their heels, but we don't want to raise the heels intentionally. The lower the heels can stay while still hitting that vertical angle, the better it's going to be. All right, so anyways, I'm able to take that full stroke. I have that flexibility, but for those who don't, all right, for those who, they come up here and they start rolling their spine, all right, lack of mobility in the hips or somewhere in the spine, what I'd like you to do is just take 3/4 strokes or even half strokes and think about keeping your heels planted the entire time. That way we're not giving up the 20% from the hips. All right, so if that's the case, let's say that there's something that's keeping us, preventing us from taking a full stroke, they just look like this. Keep the heels down, you're still leaning forward, still leaning back. All right, this might also increase your stroke rate a little bit. That's okay. Just make sure we're still pressing through the forefoot, pushing through the heels and the legs, swinging through the hips, pulling through the arms. All right, we do not want to give up that hip swing. So remember, we want to lean and swing. All right, lean forward to 1 o'clock, lean back to 11 o'clock. All right, so pretty long video. Hope I didn't bore you guys, but that's all I got. If you have any questions, go ahead and share a comment, direct message me, and of course, please like, subscribe, and share. I really appreciate your support. Best of luck. You guys are going to crush this 2K.